in that
All right, can we
predicate.
put a pause in this convo? Because there's Professor
Yeah, go
Mack
ahead,
and
Caleb.
Kayla. Wait, Kayla, what was your question?
So my question was to Danny, right? You would say the Trinity is not logic. It's not illogical, right? I mean, you just said that, which breaks my heart. But anyways, would you say that the hypostatic union is illogical?
So my preferred term. So my preferred term is I like to say those things are incoherent, right? Because that leaves room for me being wrong about interpreting the creed, because I am not a scholar on those creeds, right? So the thing is that if I interpret the creed, Nicene Creed, the Chalcedonian Creed, then it is illogical, right? But what happens is that when I provide my interpretation, which actually might be the correct interpretation, but let's say I'm wrong, but let's say whatever, then what happens is that the person I'm talking to will say, this is the correct interpretation, and it leads to very different, non-logical, implausible conclusions. And so I usually incoherence or some kind of just flat out like ad hoc interpretation of the text. So it's a difficult question. I would say on my interpretation of the creeds, it is illogical, but I can't force the Trinitarian or the hypostatic unioner, what do you call them?
Christologists, I guess you would call
Chalcedonians, I guess. It's not like I can force the Chalcedonian to interpret differently. So it's why I hesitate in saying that it's just flat out illogical, because they just have they might have different commitments or pre-theoretic assumptions that would lead to different interpretations. So like one inconsistency that I see in between the creeds is that, and I think I mentioned this to you, maybe I haven't, is that the way that homoousia is used in the Nicene Creed is, and the way that it's used in the Chalcedonian Creed leads to inconsistency if they're used in the same sense. Okay. So, and I think it's very likely that they were using it in the same sense. You see, I have different priors. I don't want to start fights right now, but I'm not a Christian, so I have all these. I'm more inclined to think that there was confusion than clarity, right? People on the panel are gonna disagree. That's fine, but then I've given this kind of concern to Trinitarians, and their move is to say there's different senses of the term homoousia. And then when they try to articulate it, it doesn't make any sense. So do they have a logical problem? I would not say they do, because they're equivocating. But the way that they're equivocating, right, doesn't make any sense to me, and likely doesn't make any sense at all. So this is why I prefer, my personal statement that I would like to sign off on is that there's inconsistency in the language for sure. That there's inconsistency if you interpret the way I do, and if you count the way we normally do. And if the Trinitarian says, okay, well, here's a new method of counting, or here you're not to interpret this way, then they just they have a different problem. They don't have a problem of the kind of inconsistency that I'm seeing.
Okay, is that all you have to say then?
Yeah, I'm sorry I know you want to move on.
With it?
Yeah, do you have another question, Kim?
No, I wanted to say, piggyback off what Danny said. So would you say they don't have a problem with it, or they just don't care to?
They don't have a problem with it?
Yeah,
the person that's in reinterpreting and inventing counting methods, you're talking about them?
No, the people that defend the position of logical contradictions, how a person was life and death at the same time, or how a person didn't know something at the same time. And I mean, it's still one subject. That subject died and didn't die, apparently in two different natures, right? There's a lot of issues, but do you think that the way they justify it, is it logically coherent, or they just don't care that it's illogical?
Oh, I think they care for the most part, in my opinion.
But is that your last question, Kayla?
Hey, Kayla, do you want to talk on your live? Because they want to move on.
Okay, I can always get Danny. It's fine. Sure. Of course, Danny.
Oh, you want to do it now or later?
No, I'm asking if that was our last
I'm
question.
going to steal you and I make them mad. So I'll just wait till you're done.
No, I think we're just trying to move on, because we've been talking about this for an hour or so. So I think they just want to move on with other stuff. But if you want to,
I think they want to talk to you though, so that's why I don't want to.
Oh, they want to talk to me?
No. I want to Professor says
They
so.
want to move on.
Yeah, great. Professor wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants you to definitely catch their blunders.
What? Huh?
What's going on right now? I'm so
Yeah,
confused.
I had a question if I could ask it.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
no, Danny, I kind of want you to stay for just a minute, please.
No, I want to talk about it. The issue is that the host doesn't want to talk about it.
No, I'm asking, is
Okay,
Kayla done
let's
with
get
her
to know
question?
right.
I don't mind. It's up
Okay,
to-
just making sure. I misunderstood. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
up,
could I
Professor?
ask a question? Yeah. So, if I were to say to you that biblically speaking, the only distinction between Jesus and the Father is the humanity, would you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree.
I mean,
Oh,
I
you're
would
asking
agree.
Danny?
The only distinction? No, that I can't agree with that.
Could you show a distinction between Jesus and the Father that's not predicated to humanity?
One's still gonna.
That's not predicated to Jesus or human. Or, wait, what?
Humanity. Because I would agree that there's distinction between Jesus and the Father and humanity. I believe the humanity is the Son, but I believe the only deity that Jesus Christ is, he identifies the deity in him as Father
What?
throughout his ministry. And he identifies the humanity as Son. So could you highlight for me one time where there's a distinction between Jesus and the Father and it's not predicated to humanity?
Well, I would use like the example.
What do you mean by I guess I.
It is
Go
not,
ahead.
and it's not in reference to.
Oh, is he asking you
it
or
is
me? I'm
not.
so confused.
I was asking Danny, but I
Oh, my
wouldn't
bad.
mind
Go
the
ahead, Danny.
conversation
Go ahead. My
openly
bad.
about
That's
it.
on
But
me.
One
Yeah,
Danny,
I don't know what it means to say that it's predicated to humanity.
okay, let me. So, are you able? I'll say it this way: could you locate one distinction between Jesus and the Father that's not directly due to or because of humanity, the human existence?
Yeah, Jesus came from the Father.
Okay, he came from inside of the Father. He says, "I came out from out of the Father." So, before humanity, he was in the Father. Correct?
Before he was human, fine. I'm
Yeah.
fine to say that he's.
John 16:28 says, "Exothon ektel patros." I came out from out of the Father. So if that's what it says, my question is it true that he says, I came out from out of the Father into the world? Before he entered the world, he came from inside of the Father, correct?
I don't know. Maybe let's say it's true.
Okay, so that would say that before humanity, he was in the Father, and that was the Father.
Okay, that's
So,
ambiguous to me, but let's say it's true. He's quote
all
unquote
right.
in the Father.
Now, I guess my challenge is this. I'm giving you the burden of proof, and if you're okay to accept it, my argument is that the distinction is only in humanity, but if the distinction between Jesus and the Father extends beyond the humanity, surely we should be able to find a scripture that teaches or shows that. That's all I'm saying. And so without the humanity, could you please show me a distinction between Jesus and the Father?
I just did. Didn't I not do that?
No. What was your reference?
He
You
I
agreed.
think
He
I think
showed you.
Professor, you're
You
coming
agreed
from
to
a
the distinction because you said Jesus was in the Father.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's not a property of
Jesus
his
being in the
humanity.
Father
Exactly.
is not a distinct person. What's
Oh,
in the
is that
Father
okay?
Okay,
You
so
just
is
you're
said
the
a
asking
Father.
him to show
distinction. You
you
didn't
a
say distinct
distinct person. You just said a distinction.
That's what you
Clarify
said.
yourself.
All right, okay. Maybe if I look at it this
Oh,
way.
you're asking me for why I would think. Now, I do think that the Bible, the way I read the Bible, they look like distinct persons. I think that the oneness modalist position, the biblical data to me either supports Trinitarianism or Unitarianism, and I think it's the latter more
That's
likely, but I could
because
be wrong about that.
that's
But the
because many
modalist position
times. Oh, go
seems
ahead.
kind of lost in the text.
Well, I think now I can't speak for all people who subscribe to a modalist position,
Okay.
but most people assume that modalist position doesn't acknowledge distinction, and that's not fair. The modalist position can fully acknowledge distinction, but in humanity and deity, that's what I posit.
But what I mean
And
by
once that
what I mean
distinction
by
is acknowledged, it is
modalism,
completely
what I
consistent
mean
with the
here's
Bible.
what I mean by modalism. Maybe I'll just use a different term if that throws people
Yeah, go
off.
ahead.
That Jesus the Father and the Holy Spirit are one person.
In different modes.
Yeah, I agree to that. I affirm it.
Okay.
But
Okay. So you're
my whole
asking
argument
me
is,
what biblical data supports the idea that they're two persons and not, or more than more
well,
than
I
one
would
person.
say, but here's the thing: in the incarnation, I think people get more confused as to what a person is. I believe the consistency of the term "person" bears out modalism even during the incarnation, but because people see the Father speaking and communicating with the Son, they assume that cannot be the internal function of one person, and I believe it is. It's still one spirit functioning in two modes.
Well, let's
But
just take here's my definition of a person for maybe a working definition. A person is something that you address. So you're addressing me right now. I don't address rocks. I'm like, hey, you over there, rock, come over here. No, that doesn't mean You
So a
address
simple
people.
address is what determines person.
That which is addressed in the way that you're addressing me and I'm addressing you is a person,
If
right?
I address my dog,
The
is that
fact
a
that you're
person now?
addressing me, the fact that you're addressing me and I'm addressing you indicates two persons. The fact that the Son addresses the Father indicates two persons on my
Now,
view.
that if that's how you define person, I understand that, but I
Okay,
think
okay,
that's an
okay.
inconsistent definition of person.
Okay. I'll take your
Because many
definition. What's your
things,
definition?
the individual substance of rational nature, I think that's
That's not
consistent.
inconsistent with what I'm saying.
It is
How?
because one substance can operate as two rational natures that communicate with each other, as
Say
long as
that.
it's still one
Say that
substance.
again. Say that slowly. Sorry. One
One
substance.
one substance can have two rational natures that communicate with each other and address each other, still existing of the same rational. I mean, still existing of the same substance.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, it does. It doesn't. So
No, I don't
is the
know.
Son the same substance as the Father?
Real quick, Matt. So would you say that that's like, even when it comes to the hypostatic union that you're referring to, could that be applied to the hypostatic union when it comes to Jesus being
I mean,
both like fully man and
I
fully God?
believe so. Yes, I believe that the same substance of the Father was given for the Son to have in Himself, and they communicate, but still living as the same substance. Now it's interesting because Trinitarians understand that one substance can do that, but they never understand that still just means one person, and they ignore all the biblical definitions of substance as the person, even the
Biblical
later
definitions.
theological
Does
definition.
the Bible? I don't think the
This guy
Bible
does
really.
not know what a person is, by
Thank
the way.
you. The Bible's not
I
a
just gave
dictionary.
you a
I be telling these
definition.
people this. Thank you. The
Yeah,
Bible's
I
not a
think
Because this guy
dictionary,
is
bro.
So no,
shapeshifting,
Stop
I
bro.
didn't.
it
No,
out.
I
What the
think you guys
fuck?
misrepresented what I said. I didn't say the Bible defines person. I said the Bible references the substance of the Father as His person.
Yeah,
But you
but
said that's not how
okay.
the Bible defines person, though.
The
You just
Bible
said that.
references the substance of the
Okay.
Father
Well,
as the
let's
Father's
just move
person.
on. The point is that you would agree that you and I are two different persons, and do you
And we're
disagree
two
that?
different substances.
Okay, in substances, you mean just the thing? Is that what you mean?
I mean, a substance of rational nature, I believe, is the spirit of a person.
Okay, but that to
The
me, I'm
spirit life.
translating that as a thing that thinks.
Yeah, the rational nature. What is the substance of the thing that thinks? Isn't it spirit?
Wait. Now you're
What
contrasting
the
thing.
fuck?
Now you're
Listen to the definition.
contrasting.
Hold on. Let me just get this clear with Danny real quick, because I think Danny's being fair, but I just want to make it clear. The rational nature is not the person. The substance of the rational nature is the person.
Right.
Do we
So
agree?
if I look at my definition as the definition that I'm getting from you is something that reduces to a thing that thinks. The thinking is
The
not the
substance
person.
of the thing that thinks.
Okay, now I don't know what you mean by substance if you don't mean thing.
So, okay, the substance is the thing, but it's specifically referring to not the process of thinking. That is the action of the substance. But
I
the
agree with you
substance that's
there.
performing that action is the person.
Yeah, that's compatible with understanding substance and thing interchangeably.
All right, okay, fine. I'll accept that. Now that you've
Okay, I
explained,
don't
that's
know. I mean,
fine.
maybe it means something, but so
And
then
I
what
don't
you're
see the need to
defining.
go to thing, but I as that it's true, so I'll accept thing. That's fine.
Okay, so a person's a thing that thinks, right?
The thing itself that thinks, correct?
Yeah, right. It's not the thinking. It's not the capacity to think. That's the person. It's the thing that has the capacity that does the thinking, right?
Right.
So now, how do you distinguish between two things that think versus one thing that thinks? Right? They would have different thinking.
I would say it's one thing that thinks in from two different natures or from two different modes. That's what I would say. It's still the same one thing thinking in two different ways.
Okay, so like let me use the closest example of what
Do you
might
disagree
sound.
that that's possible?
I don't even know what it means, right? So I'm trying to use an example to maybe you can sign off on. So let's take the example where like people say I am created in the image of God, so I have a disposition to do the good, but I also have a disposition to do evil for whatever reason. It might be original sin, it may not be, it doesn't matter. So I have a sinful disposition and I have a righteous disposition, right? And
Okay.
these weigh on me, right?
Okay.
So those are two types of natures insofar as they're dispositions to act. One disposition to act righteously and sinfully. So is that kind of what you're saying?
No,
Is that
not
what
not
you-
necessarily. Now
Okay.
that's a true statement, but that's still one will that is tempted or driven by distinct desires. The one will is conflicted in its desire to do right and desire to do wrong. Talking about two distinct wills entirely that subsists in the one substance that both are able to have full function in the one substance. and
So
the one
there's a
thing.
there's a weird part of this conversation that you're talking to a non-Trinitarian, and specifically you're talking to someone that really thinks that a lot of this metaphysics.
But what you're saying is you believe that the only logical conclusions are Trinitarian or Unitarian, and I'm showing you that the actual true one is the one that takes the truth for both and discards it. There are some things that Unitarians effectively critique.
So do you think, like, for example, do you think Jesus?
Trinitarians effectively critique Unitarians about?
Okay,
And once you
sure.
understand that Jesus can be the Father, then it literally eliminates all of their the wrong side of all their arguments and only keeps what's right.
Okay, so just to be clear, when Jesus is praying, is he praying to himself?
I would say two distinct selves, because it has a very broad semantic application.
This guy doesn't even
in
know what he's
different
talking
contexts.
about.
Okay,
Bro,
so
on my
Hey, bro,
mom's,
let's not cut
Danny,
me off.
you
Let
know
me
to be
that.
explain.
nice, right? Where there's
No,
no, he's not being.
Let me explain
on,
this to
man.
Danny.
We're
Let me
grown
explain.
people.
Bro,
Hey, let's not cut me off and let me explain this to Danny.
you don't know what you're
So,
talking about.
It's
right,
okay.
right.
It's okay. We haven't.
So here's
we
the
can
thing:
be
you and I
nice.
can discuss it, and you can prove that I don't know what I'm
Danny's
talking
the
about,
atheist and he's the
as
one
opposed
that's
to being
had more word than
disrespectful.
all of you
Stop
here.
ganking up on Mac, bro.
Like
That is
if you
that's
don't
Bull is
bullshit.
crazy.
if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, I open myself to be debated, discussed with, and we'll see who knows
I
what who's
think a
talking
He
better
Yeah,
about.
is
no
an
Okay.
one's being. He's
atheist.
Now,
not
but
being an
let me
asshole right
finish.
now.
But if you all
So
you
we
need to
could
do
just.
is look up the definition of self. See, this is what I use. The
Okay.
definition. The definition of self can be it's reference to a sub-autonomous aspect of the full being or of the full person. A person is created by multiple cells. Multiple cells does not negate, no, multiple cells does not necessitate multiple persons. This is very important to understand from a Greek perspective. The term autou actually applies in ways for objects that pertain to a person and for whole persons themselves. But what Jesus says in John 5:26 is, as the Father has life in himself, hey, autou, so is he granted for the Son to have life in himself. Those are two distinct selves, the same one life substance. It's just
Okay.
the two different distinct manifestations of the same life,
So
which is the
just
same substance
so
of a
would you
rational nature.
say that you are a self or you have a self?
In one context, I am a self, but
Okay.
but in another context, I'm comprised of many
Okay. In that context
sub-autonomous
where
selves.
you are a self, is that identity?
Yeah, that's an identity. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that sense, the sense of self by which you're identical to a self, right? How many selves does Jesus have?
So self, it would apply
You
in
don't have to
different
define
contexts.
it,
So
right?
I would
But
say, based off of what I know we're discussing, I would say two selves in the context of two manifestations of the same substance. Jesus is both manifestations
okay,
of the
but
one
that
substance.
doesn't seem to be so. So are you identical to a manifestation of whatever you said? Sorry.
I believe Jesus is identical to all of what his substance manifests as.
So what I'm trying to do is see how you use the term self normally and use that sense of self and see how you think about
So,
interpret that section in the passage.
and I believe that the language, the Greek language, the English language, we use the term self in various ways. A person can be a self.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
going by myself. That's what a person would say. And then, but if your finger is twitching, you would say it's twitching by itself. These are different ways that we, even speaking in our language, we use self. And it is actually in different contexts of self.
Yeah, no, fine. They're different usages. But now what I'm suspecting is that you maybe we're the bad ones, maybe you're the good ones. It doesn't matter. The point is that we're using the language differently. And for all I know, you actually just agree with the Trinitarians.
No, I don't. There are distinct differences. But
But how
let
do
me
you
make,
know it's not? It's that you're just using different terms to convey the same stuff.
because now, to some degree, that is the case. But those distinction in terms lead to conclusions that are absolutely in disagreement. Like I would
Okay.
say that Jesus is fully deity and fully man. The deity is always identified by Jesus as Father. The Bible proves that the deity can be nothing other than the Father. And while as Jesus, that deity is nothing other than a Father, and the humanity is the Son. This is how Jesus relates to this throughout his entire ministry, never diverges from this conclusion that the deity equals Father, humanity equals Son. He says, when you see the Son of Man lifted up, you will know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself. That's that self again. But I do just what the Father has taught me. John 5:19 says, very truly, the Son can do nothing of himself, but he can only do what the Father shows him. And the Father loves the Son and
But
shows him all
there
that
looks like a
he
distinction
does.
of self there, right?
There's a distinction of self, but the same one life. Now, here's the thing.
The same one
If it's
life.
the same one life.
That sounds like soul.
Well, no, I would say spirit. I would argue spirit. But if it's the same one life spirit, the Bible teaches that the spirit is life because of righteousness, Romans 8 and 10. I believe the spirit is life. If it is the same one life, that life is eternal life. That life is what the true God and eternal life is in 1 John 5:20. That life is what the word of life is in 1 John 1 through 3.
Yep. Did he?
No, I caught a call. It's fine. So what I'm saying is that one eternal life, that is the true God, is the life that the Father always has, but he shares with the Son.
Okay.
And that life is always referenced by Jesus as the Father.
Okay, this is what
why the Son could do nothing of himself.
So it seems like there are two ways this conversation could go. One way is I can learn all the way that you're using these different terms: life, self, person, substance, nature. That's one way we could do it. The other way to do it is I want to know what happens if we use the way that I use the terms, which I would argue are the everyday usages of the terms. Okay.
All right, let's
see how they apply to how you interpret scripture. So for example, let's just use these terms. Okay. I am a person.
Now, can we agree that these terms should be either defined but with a cited definition or referenced in the Bible with that usage?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
If terms are what we're stuck on, and it very well could be, can we be fair to say that the terms should either be defined by citation, cited somewhere, not just our own
this would be like saying,
or
literally what I think what's
reference in the
going on
scripture?
here is it's the same sort of problem that like I speak Russian and you speak English. That's what's going on right now. And so could you impose the Russian the way that Russians use the terms on the way English users speak the terms? Well, no, they're two different languages, right? There is no usage of the term donkey in Russian. It doesn't translate. They have an equivalent term, and it sounds strange, right? It's Russian.
No, I get that, but what I'm simply saying is this. I get that in language translations, but we do have the tools to study in Greek and in English. And if we're going to use these terms, and if we're getting caught up on
you can
terms,
tell me the equivalent
they should be
term.
cited somehow.
I'm totally fine with you giving an equivalent term to the way I use the term. So what I mean by person is what you mean by, I don't know, substance with a rational nature. Then that's fine, right? But I want to see how the way I use the terms, how it maps onto your interpretation. That way I can
All right, go ahead. Let's go ahead and walk through the exercise.
So let's just, for sake of argument, say that what a person is a person. A person is a thinking thing that can be addressed. And so we'll use that definition. Okay? So now the question for you.
A thing that thinks that can be addressed.
You're right. So you're a thinking thing. You're a thing that thinks right now. You're thinking right now. You're listening. You're reasoning. You're responding to me. You're a thinking thing. I'm a distinct thinking thing because I'm addressing you. I'm not addressing myself when I'm addressing you, right? If there was only one person, I wouldn't be addressing another. I'd be addressing my own self, my own person. Okay?
I get your argument, yeah.
All right. Okay. So under that definition of person, is Jesus and the Father the same person or different persons?
Would be the same person. Here's why. Even if I accept your definition, because the thing that's thinking is the same thing. The thing that's thinking in deity is the same thing that's thinking in humanity. And the difference in natures is what creates the necessity to communicate.
So you're saying, like, if I'm trying to build a bridge, and I'm thinking about the math to do the purchasing of the materials or whatever, right? Do the finances. Okay. There's a thing that's thinking about the calculations, and there's a thing that's thinking about the materials required for the project. So when I'm thinking, right, about, or I'm like, okay, I need to, right, buy three pieces of iron. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Or I need to buy these materials, right? I am identical to the thing that's thinking about the math to the thing that's thinking about the materials, right? That's the sense.
Well, if you're the architect and builder, you're thinking about both of those things.
Right. That's a better example.
About the cost and the material, but that doesn't reference the two distinct natures. And my argument is the establishment in human nature is what causes the distinction and the necessity to communicate even though it's the same functioning thing in both natures. It is the
Okay.
same spirit functioning as deity, and it is the same spirit life functioning as humanity. And that in and of itself creates two operating systems. One operating system in humanity that has to operate the system of a physical body, and one operating system that is the expansive deity that operates with full capacity. And so it's the same life that's functioning as that's giving life to those operating systems. So it's the same thing in and of itself as the root cause.
But you want to say that there's an analogy. There is a sound analogy between the Jesus praying and then me building a bridge, insofar as that when I think to myself, I need to give a blueprint for this, and I think to myself, I need to hammer these nails in.
But you keep positing a circumstance where you're thinking to yourself, and that people do think to themselves. People do.
Yeah, of course we do. We deliberate.
But, yeah. But that's not my argument here. My argument here is
I'm just wondering what's going. I'm trying to analyze the Garden of Gethsemane, that when Jesus prays to the Father, right? I'm trying to analyze that with the way that you don't normally use the terms person and thinking and all those things and addressing, right? And it looks like the best way I can understand it is that Jesus and the Father, right, is like saying, well, they're the same person. It's like saying the architect and the builder are the same, and that when the architect thinks about designing and when the builder thinks about the building, right? Well, it's just that person thinking to themselves.
To be fair, that doesn't qualify my position, because my position is predicated off of the two natures. I've argued from the beginning that the distinction of Jesus Christ and the Father is only in human nature.
Okay, so it's disanalogous.
Yes, it is not. But let me posit it this way. John 5:26 says, "As the Father has life in Himself, so has He granted for the Son to have life in Himself." My question to you: do you agree that that is one life substance distributed in two distinct selves?
Look, you're talking to I don't think there are
giving you a Bible verse.
Oh, okay, right. I don't know how to interpret that Bible verse. I'm trying to understand your interpretation.
Well, okay, my interpretation would simply be.
But we're talking about the Garden of Gethsemane. I want to understand.
But you can't understand the Garden of Gethsemane unless you understand what Jesus teaches about.
I don't think I agree with that. I think I can. Look, the point is that right now I'm not objecting to your position. I'm just trying to understand it. I've not said you're wrong or that something's illogical.
Fair enough.
So I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. So when the whole Garden of Gethsemane, is it like me and you talking to each other, addressing each other, or is it like me thinking to myself about what I should do when I'm building?
It's neither. There is another option that is uniquely identified as Jesus Christ.
Do you have an analogy in mind or no?
An analogy, well, I can't speak of one substance operating in two different natures of deity and humanity and any other thing in life. So my only example is how the Bible describes it.
There's no analogy that could help me understand what you're saying.
Well, there is no circumstance like Jesus that existed, to be fair. But it's not like I'm coming from left field. I have Bible verses that do give this explanation. And so, but what I would say is this.
Okay, fine. Then let's proceed this way. It looks like if you're saying there's no way for me to convey by example or by analogy how you're seeing the Garden of Gethsemane, then we have to go through your terms. But I'm telling you, this is going to be one of the most painful conversations you'll ever have, because I, unlike most Trinitarians, do not accept a lot of this metaphysics. I find a lot of the metaphysics used by all. Okay, so like
now, while you may not accept it, are you willing to say, while I don't accept it, it's not disproven scripturally?
No, I meant to say I don't accept it because I think it's unintelligible for the most part, right? So
let's see if what
I'm just coming with a warning. I'm just giving you a warning that you're talking to like a nominalist.
It's fine. I'm not going to take that.
Okay. So let's go through it. Okay. So the Garden of Gethsemane. Let's go slowly because I'm trying. I want to go. Please don't go too fast, right? Because I'm going to write some of this down. Okay. So when Jesus prays, okay, what do you mean when you say that Jesus is a person?
Jesus is an individual substance of not just one rational nature, but of two rational natures. If the definition of person is the individual substance of a rational nature, if it's the same individual substance, but it has two rational natures, it's still one person.
Okay. So I wrote substances of two rational natures. And by substance, does that mean an entity or thing?
Yes, that entity
Okay.
or thing is the Spirit of God.
We'll use the word entity. Okay, so entity with two rational natures. What is a rational nature?
A rational nature is a conscious.
Okay, so two consciousness.
Yes.
What is a consciousness?
The word in the Bible is sunoidesis. Suno meaning gather, and eidesis of thoughts, where your thoughts gather.
So now it sounds like an entity with two gatherers of thought.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, this actually helps. So here's an example. So I am married to my wife. Okay, we are one, we're in unity. She's a gatherer of different thoughts because we don't have the same thoughts. She's a distinct gatherer of thoughts than I am, right? Right now I'm at work.
You're
She's
two
at home.
different substances.
Okay, so tell me how your model is different than my example of my wife and I being one.
Okay, let me first say, if the definition of a bedroom is the room of a bed, okay, similar to the definition of person, a room that has a bed is now defined as a bedroom by that definition. Simply because I put two beds in that one room doesn't make it two bedrooms. You would need a distinct room.
Should I quibble about this or should I grant it?
Say that again.
Should I quibble about this because there are bedrooms with no beds?
I'm saying if that is a definition of, if we're taking the definition of bedroom to say a room with a bed, okay?
Okay.
If there's no bed in the room, by definition, it's not a bedroom.
It's not a bedroom.
It's
Okay,
a
I'm
room.
fine. Okay,
Once
that's fine.
there's one bed in that room, it qualifies as a bedroom. Once
Okay,
there are
fine.
two beds in that room, it still qualifies as one bedroom, correct?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Room that has beds.
Right. So all it needs is one.
Just to make sure. If you said a bedroom is a room with a bed, or is it a room
bed,
with
just like a substance of a rational nature.
Okay, well, technically speaking, when it has two beds, it wouldn't be.
It would be one bedroom still.
Okay, so you mean a bedroom?
The room itself is the bedroom. It just has to qualify as having a bed in it.
Fine. You mean by bedroom? You mean a room with at least one bed?
Well, a room with a bed. If I just define a bedroom as a room with a bed, the moment I have a room with two beds, it's still one bedroom.
Okay, then that's fine. Then what you mean by bedroom, technically, just to be for clarity's sake, is a room with at least one bed.
I mean, well, that would be a more finite way of.
I'm just making sure we're on the same page, right?
But what I'm saying, I'm keeping it strict to how individual substance of a rational nature is written and showing if you.
Then now it sounds like a substance can have it. What a person is.
If there's one substance with multiple rational natures, it's still one person.
Okay, so what a substance is an entity with at least one rational nature, right? That's what a person is.
I mean, or you can say it as
one or more.
While that might be more specific in referencing multiple rational natures.
Okay, good. All right, so we're on the same page.
The individual substance of a rational nature still stands as qualifying what I'm saying. It's all I'm pointing out.
Okay, so I think we're on the same page. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So understanding that when we look, the Bible teaches that the Son is the very same substance as the Father. This cannot be denied. And so this is proven in John 5:26, where it says, as the Father has life in himself, see that life is a substance, so was he granted the Son to have life in himself. Now let's not conflate the substance of flesh with the substance of the rational nature. The substance of flesh is not rational. The substance of flesh is literally just the house of a person.
I'm a little lost, but I do want to say, so far, what I've written down, I have what is a person? Well, what is Jesus? Jesus is a substance with two rational natures. That means that down here, I have entity with two gatherers of thought. This position is compatible with social Trinitarianism.
No, it's not, because
this is exactly what the social Trinitarians say.
No, here's why. That's the definition of person, number one, and then the aspect of the rational nature that is human is not God. So God still exists as only one.
Wait, okay, fine.
Nature.
Let me just. I want to be clear. I'm fine to grant you, right, that this is not social Trinitarianism. The problem that I'm seeing is that this is what a social Trinitarian would say.
Some of the concepts may be similar. I'm not going to deny that.
Okay, because
it's
what they're
showing
going
the
to say,
nuance of being.
Where they're going to say, the social Trinitarians are going to say something like, Jesus is a certain unity of consciousness, a gatherer of certain experiences and thoughts that's distinct from the gatherer of thoughts and will and actions and consciousness than the Father. Yet they're one entity, right?
Yeah,
that's exactly what social Trinitarians believe.
But social Trinitarians won't understand the fact that God has one conscious and one spirit. God.
No, but you
This
said two
distinct
gather.
conscious is only in humanity. That's all. I only grant an added conscious in humanity, in the nature of humanity, not in the nature of God. This is the
Okay,
distinction.
now I'm seeing what might look like an inconsistency, because what I
What
have
would be
written here.
inconsistent?
So you're saying that God is one substance. That substance is Jesus. That substance is the Father, right?
That substance is the substance of the Son is the same substance of the Father in
Right.
rational nature. The same substance. Yes.
And that substance that is Jesus is the same substance that is the Father, that has two rational natures, right?
This substance has two rational natures: one of deity, one of humanity. The nature of
Okay,
humanity, the nature of deity, all manifested from the same one
okay.
spirit.
And then when the way you define that was a rational nature is a consciousness.
The rational nature is a consciousness. So the one spirit manifests two consciousness, one in deity, one in humanity, all manifested by the one substance, which is spirit.
Sure, but at the end of the day, this is, I guess, help me when because social Trinitarians will say God is three consciousness. Okay.
Well, social Trinitarians would say that, but the Bible doesn't teach that. Nowhere outside of the humanity can you show that God operates with more than one conscious. Nowhere.
But you just said an entity. God is an entity. With Jesus is the entity that is the Father, and presumably that entity is God. And then you said if Jesus is that entity that has two consciousnesses, then God is that entity that has two consciousnesses. And now
Listen, no. That's incorrect. Jesus is comprised of what is fully human and what is fully God as a dichotomy.
Wait, just
One
to
is not the
clarify,
other.
did you say that substance is Jesus?
The substance is Jesus, yes.
All right,
I agree.
and that is that substance God?
The substance, this is what modalism teaches, bro. I want you to understand. The substance in and of itself manifests in humanity in the body, soul, and spirit of a human. And that one spirit is providing the human spirit function of that human being. That is the Holy Spirit is the one spirit that's doing that. That spirit has always intrinsically existed as God, being the source spirit life of the divine conscious. So this one source spirit life has always been subsisted with the divine conscious, and is now operating in humanity with a human conscious. The human conscious is not God. And if the human conscious is not God, then God remains only having the one conscious as he always did. Otherwise, God will have changed.
Okay, so, but from what I gathered from that, you did say that the substance of two rational natures, that substance is both Jesus and God and the Father, right?
Say that one more time.
That Jesus, the Father, God, all refer to one substance, right?
Yes. So the one substance is shared by the Father to the Son.
Oh, they're
with
not
human
identical
function.
to it. They share it.
No. The Father is identical to his substance and gives life to the Son through that same substance. The substance of the Son has always existed as the Father's
Okay,
substance.
wait.
That's an
So
eternal
maybe it might
substance.
help. Maybe it might help. How many substances are there in God?
One.
One. Okay.
His
And is
spirit.
Jesus, the Father, and God identical to that substance?
In deity, in spirit, yes. Not
Okay,
in
so
full existence.
so Jesus, God, and the Father are identical to the substance, and then you
In
said
spirit,
God is.
yes.
But then now I'm seeing a contradiction. The
What is a
contradiction is this.
contradiction?
So you're saying that, on one hand, the substance that is God, which is also the substance that is Jesus, the substance that is Jesus has two rational natures.
Right.
Then you said that means that Jesus is an entity with two consciousness. Okay. Then you said,
Right.
this is where you got the contradiction. You said God has only one consciousness. Yet God
That's
is
not a contradiction.
but God is the substance that has the
Well,
two.
okay, I'll say this just so it's clear. And so, if you say God has is different than God is. Maybe that's where we're confusing.
Here,
God
let me write
is.
this down for you. Can the host make me big for a second?
Yeah, I could.
It's up
It's
to the
already
host.
been done.
Let me write this down.
Who
All
did
right,
that?
fair
I'm
enough.
Mac,
following.
just to let you know, this is why I always say that there's two categories of substances. It's literally why I say this all the time.
Two categories of the same substance or two different substances, Walt?
No, two categories, what a substance is. Because
Oh,
you're
okay.
using
I get what you're
substance
saying. I get what you're
properties
saying.
versus the
So this is
sameness.
what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get what you're saying, Walt.
Let
So
him
you
rock.
have.
Hold on.
So what I'm seeing is this. So there's a substance with two rational natures, right? And then you said
Yes. At the
this.
incarnation, not before the incarnation, but yes.
Sure. Okay. So this just means two consciousness. Okay. Whatever. All right.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm actually writing from the screen. It's actually weird to write from the screen. I can't. I should. Oh wait. But okay. So now this substance, right, is what? That's Jesus.
Spirit.
I'm going to put J.
That substance is spirit.
Is Jesus a substance with two rational natures?
Jesus is a substance with two rational natures. That's
So
substance.
so then is that
I'm
an equal
talking about
sign
the
then?
actual like quality of that substance is spirit. That is the material or immaterial existence of it. Is spirit.
When I'm asking, is this statement true? I'm going to use the highlighter. Okay.
Yeah. Now
So
the Bible does teach
what I've
in 2
highlighted.
Corinthians 3:17 that
Wait
the
one
Lord is
second.
that spirit. So that's
I want to
fine.
know if what I just highlighted is true. Is Jesus
is the
equal to the
substance
substance?
with two rational natures. That I mean, the substance is a person. The substance of a rational nature is a person. The person of Jesus is a substance with two rational natures. Yes,
Okay, so this is true.
that's true.
Okay. And is God that substance as well?
God is the substance, but he is the substance possessing one rational nature. And this is where we got to qualify that the substance manifests two
Okay, what I'm
rational
asking
natures.
is what's highlighted? That's an equal sign. That's identity. Is what's highlighted true or false? So this
That's
is true.
That is true. That's true. I got you.
Okay. So
But now,
God is
notice how you
identical.
said, but let me, you said a little W slash where it says with two rational natures.
Yeah, that includes the whole thing.
So when we're looking at saying the substance possesses two rational natures, I'm not saying that the substance is two rational natures. It manifests as two rational natures. The substance is the life of the two rational natures. You understand what I'm
Right. The
saying?
idea is that the substance here is the substance with two rational natures.
Right. Okay. All right. As long as you understand it with that clarification, you keep going.
So then if the substance is the substance with two rational natures, and God is that substance, then by transitivity, God is going to be the substance with two rational natures.
I don't disagree with that, but I think what you're conflating, this is why I clarified before.
Okay, so you don't disagree. So let me write that down. Let me write that down really fast. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
God is equal to substance with two consciousness.
I don't have a problem with that. What I'm saying is,
This is not what you said earlier. You said God
no,
only has
I
one
think you were
one consciousness.
conflating what God is versus what God has.
I'm talking about equals.
Yes. So when you say equals, you see how that says with as in possessing? Does God
It says here, it doesn't say spirit there, it says substance.
Sure. Does that mean that God is the both rational natures? No. You understand the difference?
You already said that the substance that God is the same substance that has the two consciousness.
So do you understand the difference between possession and identity?
It won't matter here. Let me give you an example.
Does. That word with is possession. I think now if you're saying I have a contradiction and I just explained that, you gotta acknowledge that in showing a contradiction. I feel like you're kind of bulldozing that and not acknowledging it.
No, if Trump is identical to the president that has a son, right?
Say that again.
Trump is identical to the president that has a son, correct?
Trump is identical to the president that has a son? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So if you're going to be contradicting yourself, if you say that that Melania is that president.
I agree. I'm not saying that though.
Okay. In the same way, Jesus is a substance with two rational natures. And then you're also saying that God is a substance with two rational natures.
So this is what I'll say. We can identify this, differently. Jesus Christ is a substance that identifies as both rational natures. That is identified biblically as both rational natures. The Father is the same substance that has two rational natures, because what you're not understanding is there is a legitimate distinction in the modes of what is manifested. The Father in and of himself is not the rational nature in any way in identity. But if you want to say possessing because the substance possesses it, that's fine. But the substance is not saying to be identified as it. The substance is the cause of it. That's why it's the substance of the rational nature. The substance causes the rational nature to exist.
So I'm going to do this little proof for you. Okay, because it's just
I think I've explained it. I don't know what, but like I'm explaining it, but in order to critique it, you got to still man what I'm saying.
No, because it's a logical problem. At this point, it doesn't matter what you mean by the terms.
It doesn't matter what I mean by the terms. I mean, I understand it needs to make logical sense. As I've just said it, it's been making sense if you apply it the way I can show biblically and the way that I've stated. But when you're only saying with and not understanding what is that with of possession and distinction of identity, then you're not really going to speak to my argument or my claim.
Okay, if you don't want, I'm perceiving a logical problem, and I just laid out an inconsistent set of statements. If you want to engage with the logical problem, then let's do it. Otherwise, we should end the conversation.
I'm engaging with it. Let's do it. I welcome the challenge. I think it's good, but if you're not dealing with what I'm saying is identity versus possession, then how can we? Well, if I'm making the distinction between identity and possession, like does your analysis or your critique account for that? Does it?
Yes. Yeah, it does.
All right, so let's account. Right. If you account for it, then it'll bear what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Look. So S1 is equal to a substance with two rational natures. In fact, let's make this a little bit more clear. Let's say two. Let's make it easier for. So S2 means that
a substance with two rational natures.
Oh, I did it correctly, I think. All right. I wanted the numbers a little bit clear. Okay. So S2 is a substance with two rational natures. S1 is a substance with one rational nature. So far, so good?
You're saying with?
I'm saying these are identical. That whatever's here, you see these in the brackets, is identical to what's there. Just like, think about Trump is equal to
So how are you defining with? Are you saying, maybe if you say that is two rational natures, as in identity versus with. I mean, I don't know if you're not necessarily accounting for
this example,
possession and identity. That's
look at this example. Trump is equal to the president with a son. That everything that's true of Trump is true of the president, the president with a son.
I agree. I get that point, but
that's the same thing here. That's the same thing here.
Bro, I understand that, and I'm walking with you. But you're still not accounting for what I'm saying versus possession and identity.
In what way? What's not being accounted for?
Because as I've said, possessing, God extends his person into humanity, and he possesses that, sure, but he does not identify with. He does not identify as the humanity.
This has nothing to do with what you said there.
I think what you're not accounting for is that I'm saying that God is united to humanity, but maintained as distinct from humanity. And that this is an important paradigm. So uniting definitely satisfies the with. God, like he's with this humanity, with this other rational nature. But him uniting with the humanity doesn't mean he doesn't have maintained distinction as distinct from humanity. And this is a very important paradigm for both the Trinitarian model of our union and mine.
Okay,
that's
so
an important thing to respect.
Don't bring us into this.
Danny, can you let him? Can you, sorry.
Okay,
Danny,
Danny, you gotta respect that though.
The point.
Danny,
but what the question
Danny,
is,
let him say it again, please. Just so we're not strawmanning him, please.
Well, but all I want to know is whether if this is true or false on his view.
If you're saying with, yes, we walked through that already. With is fine because God is with the humanity. God possesses the humanity. I'm not denying that. But God does not identify as the humanity.
Okay, great.
So this is with two rational natures is more than fine, bro. I don't disagree.
Okay, great. So this statement that
and it would be consistent then. If I'm saying yes, if the moment I acknowledge that God is a substance with two rational natures, I'm consistent. You get what I'm saying? But with two rational natures is different than saying as two rational natures or is two rational natures.
Okay. The only thing I want to know is if this is true or false. What's in pink? I have that.
I said true, bro. That's true.
Okay, great. Okay. Now, is this true or false? Great. That's all I wanted. And then this one, the S1 means substance with one rational nature. Is that, we're going to accept this? That's just what that means?
As God? As God?
No, not yet. We haven't gotten there yet.
Well, I don't. If you want to posit S1 as a substance with one rational nature, you can do that. There's such thing as a substance. If you have two rational natures, you also have one rational nature. That's also true.
So great. This is true. And this is true. Now, the next statement I'm going to write in green is this. S1 is not identical to S2. Do we accept that?
I accept that, of course.
Okay, so this is true. Okay.
Well, you know what? Let me say it this way. S1 is not proven to be identical to S2. S1 could be identical to S2 because with one rational nature doesn't tell you what the limit is of what you have.
Okay, in classical logic,
You're at least one.
I'm using this operator the way that classical
but
religion.
You're not understanding what the word with is applying as. I get what you're saying. If
right,
someone asks, "Are you with it?" If someone calls me on the phone and say, "Hey, are you with somebody right now?" and I say yes, does that mean I can only be with one person? No, I can be with more people.
Okay, is
So
this true?
you're not qualifying fully what with means, bro. That's what I keep saying.
I didn't say with. I'm just asking if the statement.
The W slash is with.
No, it means not identical to.
No. Go up to what S1 is defined as.
I'm looking at this statement. We already agreed on
But
this.
I know, but go up to what S1 is defined as, and that W slash with. If I'm with one rational nature, I could be with more than one rational nature, unless something qualifies as with only one rational nature.
Okay, so now is this statement true or false?
It could be true. It's not definitive. It could be true, but it doesn't
so you don't
necessitate
know.
true. It's not defined enough to confirm. To be fair.
Okay, so we're wondering whether that's true.
If you say with only one rational nature, with only two rational natures, then that would be true.
Okay, so we don't know the truth value of this statement then.
Based off of what you defined it as, no, it's not.
All right, great. So I'm going to define the equal sign for you. Okay, so the equal sign, we're going to say the equal sign implies Leibniz's law. Do you accept that? That's funny.
Leibniz's law of what?
So Leibniz's law is that if x equals y, then everything true of x is true of y.
Numerical identity, yes.
Okay, so we agree that this is what that means.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so I'm going to box this
numerical identity equal sign, yes.
All right, so this is true. All right.
Yes.
So now the question for you is this true? Is S1 equal S2? Is everything true of S2 true of S1?
It's indeterminate because you've not given enough information about the two.
Okay, I'll re-ask the question in a different way. Is something true of S2 that's not true of S1?
Not necessarily. Potentially, but not necessarily. Because S2 is right? With one rational nature. S2 is also with one rational nature.
S2 is with one. No, but you didn't accept that.
If you're with two rational natures, you're also with one. You got to count past one to get to two.
Mac, I have bad news for you. That's just contradictory.
That's correct, bro. Okay, bro. It's just a fact that if you are with a person, that's a person, you can also be with multiple persons at the same time. Now, if you say with only one person or with only two persons, then you get then you have a fair point. But you have to be specific. All I'm saying is what you stated isn't specific enough, Danny. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Wait. Here's what I'm saying. I'm going to wrap it up soon. So
I'm telling
you, if you say only one,
let me finish with him. I'm about to finish.
Let Danny finish real quick.
Let me finish with him.
Danny, just ask the question in reverse. Say S1, is it identical to S2?
Look, there's a wall. We've hit a wall, right? The wall. Okay, Mac. The only avenue that I see, and Blackout suggested it for you, is to reject Leibniz's law. If you don't reject Leibniz's law,
I don't reject it. I'm not going to.
Okay, well then, I don't know how to make progress with you. I don't. I give up.
Next,
but I literally laid it out for you. All right, let me say this, and then maybe we can, and we don't have to go on forever with this. Let me at least say this. I stated from the moment you wrote with that if you're understanding the distinction of what with is and what is, then we can have a continued conversation. You continue using with without clarifying. You continue to use the term with without ever clarifying if and when if applies to identity. I mean, with applies to identity.
Okay, so it sounds like what you're saying.
Two is being with, let me finish. Being with two literally means being with one and being with another one. You're with each one if you're with two. So you are with one. I'm trying to explain that to you. That does not break Leibniz's law.
Okay,
It's
what
not
I'm
break
not under,
any
what I'm
numerical
not
identity law.
understanding.
Hold on, I'm almost done, Danny. I'm almost done. Hold on. What I'm simply saying, however, is if you would have just adjusted it to say with only one or with only two, then that would have been a fair statement that one cannot equal the other. But until you clarify how many it must be with only, then I could not answer that question fairly, bro. That's all I'm saying. I think I've explained, I've explicated that for you, and you're not addressing that, but then you're going forward like I'm saying something incorrect, bro. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're correct. I'm not addressing that because I don't see how it matters to the logical problem. Can you explain to me how it changes the logic?
Okay. The reason why it changes the logic is because S2, right there that you have with two
Yeah.
rational natures.
Yeah.
That you could be with two rational natures, and there could be 3, 4, 5 more rational natures that you're also with.
No, that's not what
Okay.
this says, though.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't close in the only possibility. And so if there are multiple possibilities, that equation right there,
no, it does. It does.
Is not, oh my goodness, with is not a restrictive term, bro.
It is.
You're not understanding that there's no restriction on this to say with two.
No, there's a restriction
does not
on the
necessitate
statement.
with only two. Do you understand that?
No, I don't understand.
Do you understand that saying with two does not necessitate with only two?
You're yelling. Calm down.
Actually,
I just want to see Danny. But Danny, can you just answer this one question? Do you agree that saying with two does not necessitate with only two? Do you agree to that?
Okay, so do you want me to delineate? You want to say 2
Can you
plus?
tell me if you agree to that, Danny?
Sure,
Can you tell me if you agree to that, Danny?
So there's a way of talking, right? Sometimes we mean
Well,
there's 2.
you're not answering my question, Danny. Can you tell me if you agree with what I said?
It's ambiguous, right? But we'll just agree to it. I just changed it for you, right?
Thank
You see, I added the plus. That means 2 or more.
No, what? Not even 2 or more. What you should say is with only 2.
Okay, you want me to change this to only 2?
I said that already.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so we agree to this now, right?
S2
it's just a symbol for that.
Substance with only 2 rational natures. Yes, that is correct.
Right. Okay, and then we'll do
The
that
other
right
one,
here.
S1
is with only 1 rational nature.
Subject
right?
with only 1 rational nature. Then that means that S1 cannot equal S2.
Great. Now God is identical
And I would
to
make
what?
that next
S1?
statement true.
Okay, so now this is the next statement. Okay, progress. I think we got progress. So I want to know if this is true.
I was trying to tell you how to progress, bro.
Okay, I appreciate it. Now, so what is this statement true or not?
God would equal S2. God would equal S2 because God is united to the human nature. It is with him.
Okay, God is equal to S2. So this is false. We're going to so we're signing off on this,
at
right?
Incarnation, God is equal to S2.
Okay, let's say now. Let's say to right now.
Say it again.
Right now. Let's index the time to either now or 2,000 years ago.
No, I'm indexing it to 2,000 years ago more so because the Bible. Then we get into the metaphysics of humanity after the incarnation. I don't want to get into that.
Okay, fine. So
after the resurrection, that's not necessary.
Just for the rest of the conversation, everything that we say is going to be true before Jesus was crucified. Deal?
Yeah.
But after he was born.
Right.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So at that time, God is this is true, right? Let me write this down. Okay, so far so good?
Yeah.
Okay, now the Father, is he S2 or S1?
The Father would be S2. The Father's God.
And how many consciousnesses does God have?
God is only one conscious. God has 2.
Okay, God is equal to 1 consciousness. Is that true or false?
No, you just changed it. You notice how you just changed the entire paradigm. This is why I said you have with in the earlier paradigm, not
so this is false.
No, God equals?
Yeah.
God is, not with, God is 1 spirit and 1 conscious.
Okay, so this
But that's a different term than with. You understand that, right?
I'm just wondering if you think that's true or false.
Now, if you're defining 1C is 1 conscious, yes, that is true. God is 1 spirit and 1 conscious.
Okay, God is a substance with 1 consciousness, correct?
God is a spirit substance, yes, with the 1 conscious. That's
okay, so this is true, right?
If you write is, yes, that's true.
No, I'm writing equals. Do you see the screen? It's right there.
Listen, before when you were writing S1 and S2, you had the term with, and I keep referencing. By you writing the term with versus is, you're conflating the terms. Now, I do not want you to conflate the terms now, as I've told you many times, to not conflate the term with and is.
Okay, so is this true or false, what I've circled?
God is 1 conscious, if that's what 1C means.
Sorry, was that true or false? I didn't hear you.
Actually, that's not even true. God equals 1 spirit.
Okay, so this is false. This is false.
That's not complete. That's God is not. If equals means numerically identical, not relatively relative identity, then no, that's false. That's false.
This is false. Okay, so
God is not
earlier,
just one consciousness.
earlier you told me that God is one consciousness.
God is one spirit and one consciousness is what I've always said.
What is spirit and conscious? What's the difference? Like, I don't get it. Like, can you explain that? Maybe that's where we're getting it wrong.
First Corinthians 2:10 explains it well. It says the spirit searches all things, yea, and the deep things of God. For who knows the thoughts of a man except the spirit in him? In the same way, no one knows the thoughts of God but the spirit of God. The thoughts and the spirit that searches the thoughts are distinct in function, but still the same one God.
So wait, I need to, Caleb, while this is interesting now, remember how we got on here. I charged you with saying something that social Trinitarians are going to say. I said what social Trinitarians will say is that God is multiple consciousness. And you said, no, God is only one consciousness. Now you're agreeing with the social Trinitarians that God is not one consciousness. He's multiple consciousness.
I didn't say that. Notice how you're conflating is and has, as I've told you many times.
Okay.
Because God has unity with a human existence. God specifically is not the human existence. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
I think I get what he's saying, Danny.
But what
okay,
I'm wondering the relevance. The point is, do social Trinitarians say that God is multiple consciousness? Yes or no?
Wait, Danny. He's saying
social Trinitarian says that God is three conscious.
All right.
Or they might even say God is three spirits. They might say God is three consciousnesses, or that God is three spirits. They can say one or the other.
Do you agree with social Trinitarians that God is at least two consciousness, two or more?
No. Is different than have or with. I keep telling you that. Like, you keep ignoring that point.
Wait, Matt, hold on. I think you're not hearing. Can you hear what he's saying? He's saying God is not those two tenses of consciousness, right? God has.
Yeah, it's still the same problem, right? This is social Trinitarians say this. God is a substance with three consciousness. That's what they say.
But the thing is, like, and to be honest, to be fair to Mac, he's referring to the subject that is Jesus. Jesus is a human being. That subject, I mean, if we're going to be honest, that subject is not identical to God. He's saying that God himself, which is a spirit, has only one consciousness, but the subject, which has two, like, I don't even know how really people get around this. The subject isn't God in totality. Like, I'm trying to hear what Mac is trying to say when it comes to this hypostatic union.
Mac,
no, I get it, and I know Walt. The hypostatic union is probably your hardest hurdle, right? So I get it.
I'm wondering if Mac accepts. I'm wondering if Mac accepts.
Let me say it this way. I think this will help. What I'm saying is the Bible teaches that the Father was pleased to have all of his fullness dwell in him, right? That means what is God? What is the Father? In going into something and causing something else to manifest in the person. And so what's then being caused and manifest in the Son is a distinct human conscience at his own, creation, at his own existence. He has now a distinct human conscience that comes from the one life of God. The one life of God creates and manifests a human conscience as the operant or the operating system of the physical body. That's what's
okay.
created.
So here's my issue.
That created thing is not God, but God did create it, and God created to it.
Here's my issue. That we said this was true. That God is S2. What is S2? Well, S2 is a substance with two rational natures. Earlier, you defined a rational nature as a consciousness. So it follows that God is a substance with two consciousness. The social Trinitarianism is that God is a substance with three consciousness. Okay, so
no. Social Trinitarianism is God as a substance that is three consciousnesses. Let's not be like you keep conflating. If you want to now, as you're being super technical,
can you have can you have a sense of consciousness that you're not?
Yeah, can you possess it? Yes. Yes.
What do you mean possess a center of consciousness? That's not that you don't. That is not.
Danny talking about a logical issue right now. He's talking about the
So can God possess something that's not him? Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't agree with that?
I mean, it's a logical issue. It's not the semantics are irrelevant right now, bro.
Okay. Can God possess something that's not him? I'm asking you that question. Can God possess something that's not him?
So I think I know what he's saying. and he has been harping on this distinction between, so he wants to say social Trinitarians are saying God is identical to a substance which is identical to three consciousness, right?
Right, exactly.
And then you want to say that you make a caveat. It's not that God is identical to a substance that is identical to three consciousnesses, that rather the substance possesses three consciousnesses, right?
I mean, well, I would say possesses two.
But
yes.
least two, yeah. Okay.
Right.
And so that's how you distinguish. Now, what's the difference between with and is identical to there in that case?
Because one is possession and the other is identity. When God is united with humanity, he has it. It's with him. He teaches it. It follows him. It listens to him, but it also operates in autonomy from him.
Okay, question.
The human conscience operates in autonomy from God. Otherwise, there wouldn't be its ability to follow God. It can't be God if it's following and yielding to God.
Okay, so do you think that the consciousness that God has is part of God?
Is part of God? No, it's not God. It's not God. It is united to God, but it is not a part of God. God unites to humanity. This is a very important distinction that from any side anyone should teach. Unitarians should be able to follow this. Trinitarians and even Modalists should all be able to follow this. God is dwelling in a human vessel, united with it as his operating spirit, but then this actual vessel has its own conscious soul that is distinct from God. That's very important to note, because this soul, this thought, this conscious has to decide to follow the spirit that's in him or not to follow the spirit that's in him. And that's an autonomous decision, a distinct self. If it's an autonomous decision, it has to be a distinct self, because auto literally means self.
Okay, so
Danny, that's kind of what I was trying to.
Into distinct subjects, right? I think now we need to go to being distinct subjects, right? So we can, because he's saying the Son is not God.
Right. I'm saying that the Son is not God, but is a predication of God as his image. The Son is God by predication, but not as God by innate identity. No.
But one person can be a predication of himself.
So yeah, your physical image is a predication of your invisible existence. Of course, you have an invisible existence and a visible existence. The Son is the image of the invisible God. So the Son is the predication of the invisible existence, still being the same one person, because God manifested a physical existence. Huh?
Like literally, this is why the hypostatic union is poof. Like Trinitarians will have the same issue, bro.
Let's not pivot. I want to get Mike's doctrine today. Don't leave the Trinitarians for now. Let us get to this. Like, I feel like Mike explains this. Nobody gets it, but I feel like we want to understand.